What if I told you that the very thing I thought would solve my problems ended up dragging me straight to the gates of hell? What if I told you that on the day of my third abortion, I died on that hospital bed, and my soul was pulled into a place darker than nightmares? I never believed I would see hell with my own eyes. I thought God would excuse me. I thought He understood my pain. But I was wrong. I was wrong in the most terrifying way possible. And just when the demons surrounded me, when I thought it was too late, Jesus appeared. He saved me. And He gave me a message, not just for me, but for you, listening right now. Before I share everything that happened, I just want to pause and thank each one of you in this community. Thank you for watching, for sharing, for commenting, and for standing with us as we tell these life-changing testimonies. This channel isn't just about stories, it's about souls, it's about eternity, and it's about truth that can't be ignored. Every time you like, comment, and share, you help push these testimonies to someone who might be standing on the edge of destruction. You might not realize it, but your support is saving lives. And I don't take that for granted. So thank you for being here. Thank you for believing that these stories matter. And I promise, what you are about to hear will shake you to your very core, because it shook mine, and it still does every single day. My name is Angela, and the story I'm about to tell you begins on June 12, 2018. That date is burned into my memory forever. It was supposed to be just another chapter in a broken cycle I thought I had control over, but it turned out to be the day death came for me. I grew up in church. My mother was a strong Christian woman, always taking us to Sunday school, always warning us about sin, always quoting the Bible. My father wasn't around much, but when he was strict and cold. Somewhere in my teenage years, rebellion took root in my heart. I didn't want God's rules. I wanted freedom, fun, and love, the kind of love I saw in movies, not in sermons. By the time I was in my early 20s, I had drifted far from the faith of my childhood. I still wore a cross necklace, but it was more of a fashion piece than a conviction. I would still tell people, yes, I believe in God, but in reality, I lived like He didn't exist. Clubbing on weekends, sleeping with boyfriends I barely knew, drinking until I blacked out, that was my life. The first time I got pregnant, I was 21. I was terrified. I felt shame, but I also felt anger. God can't expect me to raise a child now, I told myself. This is my body. My life. My choice. And with that mindset, I scheduled my first abortion. It was painful, emotionally and physically, but instead of drawing me closer to God, it pushed me further away. I hardened my heart. I told myself it wasn't a baby yet, just tissue. That's how I coped. But deep down, something in me broke. A year later, I did it again. Another pregnancy. Another abortion. And this time, I didn't even cry. I was numb. I laughed it off with my friends. Girl, kids aren't for me yet. I'm too young, I've got things to do. Still, when I laid in bed at night, there was this emptiness. A darkness. I felt dirty, unworthy, unloved. And the worst part? I convinced myself that God didn't care. I thought, if He really loved me, He would understand my situation. He would forgive me automatically. Isn't He merciful? Hell? Oh, I didn't believe in it. Not really. I thought it was some medieval scare tactic preachers used to keep people in line. I even joked with my friends, if there's a hell, I'll probably be there with all the fun people anyway. But I had no idea. I had no idea how real, how terrifying, and how final that place truly is. And then came the third time. The pregnancy that would change everything. The abortion that would end with me lying lifeless on a hospital bed. And my soul ripped out of my body. June 12, 2018, the day of my third abortion. I remember waking up that morning with a strange heaviness in my chest. It wasn't just nerves. Something inside me felt wrong, but I brushed it off. I told myself, this is routine. I've done this before. It'll be over in a few hours. The clinic smelled like antiseptic and fear. I could hear muffled sobs from another room, but the nurse avoided eye contact with me as she led me down the hall. I tried to act brave, scrolling on my phone, laughing at memes, pretending everything was normal. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. As I lay on that cold hospital bed, staring at the fluorescent lights, my heart began to race. My thoughts grew louder. What if this is wrong? What if God really is watching me right now? No, I can't think about that. I can't back out now. They inserted the 4, and the drugs made the room blur. My body felt heavy, but my spirit felt like it was slipping. Then it happened. A sharp pain tore through my chest, not physical, but deeper. I gasped for air, but no breath came. I heard the frantic voices of doctors around me. Someone shouted, "She's crashing. We're losing her." And in that moment, everything went silent. The sounds of the hospital vanished. The light above me dimmed into darkness. And suddenly, I was floating, above my body. I saw myself lying lifeless on that bed, tubes in my arms, doctors pressing on my chest. My mouth was open, but there was no breath inside me. Panic gripped me. What's happening? Am I dying? No. Not like this. Then came the pull. It was as if invisible chains hooked into my soul and dragged me downward. The deeper I went, the colder I felt. Then, heat. A suffocating, burning heat. The air grew thick, heavy with the stench of sulfur and burning flesh. I opened my mouth to scream, but only silence came out. All around me was darkness. Not the kind you experience when you turn off the lights, but a living darkness, pressing, suffocating, alive. And in that darkness, I heard them. Screams. Endless screams. Wailing so intense it pierced my very soul. I was falling, and with each second, the cries grew louder. The smell stronger. My terror deeper. Then I saw them. Shadows, no, not shadows. Figures. Souls. Human souls, twisted in agony. Some were reaching upward, clawing at nothing. Others were being torn apart by creatures I can hardly describe, things with eyes burning like fire, with mouths too wide, teeth too sharp. One of them noticed me. It rushed forward with inhuman speed, its claws reaching for me. I felt a searing pain as it latched onto my arm, dragging me down further. Its voice was like 1,000 hissing snakes. "You're ours. You killed them. You killed his children. You belong here." I screamed, "No. No. Please." I didn't, but my excuses dissolved in the heat and torment. And that's when I realized, this was real. This wasn't a nightmare. This wasn't a preacher's warning. This was hell. And I was in it. I don't know how long I was falling. Time didn't exist there, only pain, regret, and terror. The demon that clawed my arm pulled me down into a pit so black I couldn't see my own hands. Yet in the same darkness, every soul was visible, their faces lit not by light, but by the fire of their torment. The screams, oh, the screams. They weren't just sounds, they were alive. They pierced through me, echoing in my mind until I thought I would go insane. Some cried out for mercy. Some cursed God. And others, the worst of all, screamed their own names over and over, as if even their identity was burning away in the flames. I stumbled forward, my legs moving without strength, as if unseen forces were dragging me deeper into this furnace. The ground beneath my feet was jagged and hot, like walking on shards of glass covered in fire. Every step seared my flesh, but when I looked down, my body wasn't burning away, it was just hurting, endlessly, hopelessly. "Angela." I froze. That voice. Sweet. Soft. Innocent. I turned, and what I saw shattered me. 3 small figures stood in the flames, their bodies half-formed yet alive, their eyes filled with a sorrow I had never seen on earth. They didn't speak with their mouths, but with their spirits. And I knew, oh, I knew, these were my children. The 3 little lives I had thrown away. Why, Mommy, one of them whispered. Why didn't you let us live? I fell to my knees, clutching my head, screaming, I didn't know. I was scared. I wasn't ready. But in that place, excuses sounded hollow. My words melted into the air like smoke. My babies wept, their cries mixing with the millions around me, and then they were pulled back into the flames, their little hands reaching for me as they disappeared. The pain in my chest was worse than fire. It was guilt. Crushing, suffocating guilt. And then the demons came. They surrounded me, tall and twisted, their skin black like ash, their eyes blazing red. They laughed, oh, how they laughed. Not the kind of laughter that comes from joy, but the kind that comes from cruelty. You killed them, one growled, its breath like rotting flesh. 3 souls. 3 gifts from God, and you slaughtered them. Another leaned close, whispering in my ear, you said it was your choice. Now you are our choice. They clawed at my body, tearing at my skin, yet I never died. Pain in hell doesn't kill you, it just deepens, over and over, forever. I tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The pit stretched endlessly, with millions of souls writhing in torment. I saw people I thought were good, a neighbor from my childhood, a woman who always smiled at church, even a young man I once knew who had died in a car accident. They were all screaming, burning, hopeless. One man reached out to me, his eyes wide with desperation. Tell them, he cried. Tell them not to come here. Please. But before I could answer, a demon dragged him deeper into the fire. I realized then what made hell worse than the flames, worse than the torture, worse than the demons, it was the separation. There was no God there. No hope. No mercy. Only the endless echo of too late. And I knew, I deserved it. I had mocked God. I had killed his children. I had treated his grace like trash. And now, this was my payment. The demons dragged me to a pit within the pit, a place even darker, where the fire glowed beneath the cracks in the ground. They pushed me toward the edge. I could see souls falling into that bottomless abyss, screaming as they vanished. This is where you belong, the demon hissed. You thought you had time. You thought you had choices. But time is over. I clung to the edge, screaming, God. Please. Jesus. If you're real, save me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't making excuses. I wasn't bargaining. I was begging. And it was in that moment, when all hope seemed gone, that something happened. Something that even hell itself could not stop. I was hanging at the very edge of that pit, the demons clawing at my hands, their voices hissing, fall. Fall. You are ours forever. My strength was gone. My cries felt swallowed by the fire. I thought this was the end. Then it happened. A light. At first, it was faint, like a candle in a hurricane. But it grew brighter and brighter until it swallowed the darkness around me. The demons shrieked and recoiled, covering their faces, trembling like weak insects before a storm. And then I saw him. Jesus. He stepped into that pit with authority that shook the very ground. His robe was white, but not like any white I'd ever seen, it was living light. His eyes burned with fire, but not the cruel fire of hell, the fire of purity, of love, of truth. The moment his gaze fell on me, the chains on my soul shattered. The claws of the demons broke loose. I felt weight lift from me, years of sin, shame, and rebellion crumbling in his presence. I wept uncontrollably, screaming, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve you. And he spoke. Not with anger. Not with condemnation. But with a voice that thundered like rivers and whispered like love at the same time. You are right, he said. You don't deserve it. But my blood paid for you. I bowed, trembling, unable to lift my head. Every moment of my rebellion flashed before me, every abortion, every lie, every sin I excused. Yet in his presence, I felt mercy. Mercy greater than my guilt. Then his voice grew urgent. Angela, your time is not yet. But if you continue in this way, this is where you will return. I have shown you this place so that you will warn them. My children are perishing. They think they have time. They think sin is small. They believe hell is a story. But you have seen. Tell them I am real. Tell them my mercy is real. But tell them my judgment is also real. He stretched out his hand, and I saw something in his palm, scars. Deep, eternal scars that spoke louder than words. Go back, he said softly, and live for me. Go back, and tell them I am coming soon. And then, with one touch of his hand, I was lifted. The flames disappeared. The screams faded. The suffocating darkness broke apart. I was rushing upward, through what felt like layers of air, light, and peace. And then, with a gasp, I opened my eyes. I was back in the hospital bed. The doctors around me gasped in shock. She's back. She's breathing, one shouted. I was alive. But I was not the same. When I woke up in that hospital bed, tears streamed down my face before I could even speak. The doctors thought I was in shock, but I knew, I had just been pulled from the jaws of eternal damnation. From that day forward, I couldn't live the same way. The things I once excused no longer felt small. Sin wasn't entertainment anymore, it was poison. Every nightclub, every casual relationship, every careless decision. I saw them for what they really were, chains dragging me back toward hell. I broke off the toxic relationships immediately. I deleted the contacts of men who only used me. I threw out the pills, the alcohol, the clothes that reminded me of my old life. My friends didn't understand. Some laughed at me. Others cut me off completely. But I didn't care. I had seen eternity. I knew what was at stake. I went back to church, but not as the lukewarm girl who once wore a cross as an accessory. No, this time I came broken, desperate, hungry. I fell at the altar and begged God to forgive me, to cleanse me, to make me new. Slowly, He began to rebuild me. Prayer became my lifeline. Worship became my joy. Reading the Bible wasn't a duty anymore, it was a fire that kept me alive. But perhaps the hardest part of my transformation was facing the truth about my abortions. I carried the grief of knowing I had taken 3 lives. Yet in His mercy, Jesus reminded me of His blood. Though your sins are scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. And now, every time I tell this testimony, I am reminded, He didn't just save me from hell. He gave me a second chance to live for Him. Friend, listen to me. Hell is not a story. It's not a myth. I went there. I felt the fire. I heard the screams. I saw the regret. And I promise you, you do not want to end up there. Sin is not worth your soul. Abortion is not choice. Lust is not freedom. Rebellion is not fun. It's a trap. A chain. A highway straight to destruction. But Jesus, oh, Jesus is real. His mercy is real. His scars are real. And His arms are open wide. Choose this day whom you will serve. Tomorrow is not promised. You've heard my story. Now I want to ask you, do you believe hell is real? If you were to die tonight, are you ready to face eternity? Please share your thoughts and testimonies in the comments below. Your story might be the one that saves someone else. And if this testimony touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself, share it with your family, your friends, even those who doubt. Someone needs this warning. Thank you for listening. May God protect you, guide you, and keep you ready. Until next time, stay strong, stay awake, and stay prepared.